Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no copay. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit. And always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. I might sound a little jet lagged because I just got back from the Low Carb Cruise in the Caribbean. I had the fortune of speaking, and first of all, I want to thank my sponsors. Man, what an impact they've had. I've met, there were 300 people on this cruise, and all of them, were really talking about how these two companies really impacted them. And so first of all, we'll start with health code, Get Health, GETHLTH.com. They have great vanilla shakes, chocolate shakes. Really helps a lot of people get through the difficulties with nutrition or having that sweet tooth. So they're pretty amazing people. Ben Bickman, who formulated their product, was here on the cruise and gave a great talk. And I know they're doing really amazing work. And they have berberine now, which is a supplement that I frequently use with my patients. So I'm really looking forward to trying that in the upcoming months. And also Keto Mojo, keto-mojo.com. They're the company who checks ketones and sugars. So many of my fellow speakers and patients use the device. It's the most accurate, in my opinion, for checking ketones and also double checking the continuous glucose monitors that a lot of us are using. So they're doing great things. They have great recipes if you want to go check them out. And I'll also do a shout out, even though she's not an official sponsor, but Rosette's Mix, Rosette's Mix. She brought stuff on the cruise and shared it with everyone, but they have pistachio shortbread cookies and chocolate chip cookies and all those things that people say you are difficult to live without on a low carb diet. So she's doing some great work and she's a great person. So she's not an official sponsor, but she's a friend. And she's also married to Tro Kalasian, who was my partner on the Low Carb MD podcast. He was also with me on the cruise. So I just thought I would do a quick podcast and just tell you about the cruise, the speakers. And the reason I'm doing this is a lot of these people are going to come on the podcast now. Some great people that really impacted me and some great stories. I gave a talk on the effects of stress and sleep and bitterness and resentment, all these things that we talk about over and over on the podcast. And it was amazing. So I got to speak on that. Well received. The crowd was great and a lot of really great questions. And, a lot of us just lose track and we're so busy all the time. We don't really slow down and think about life. But there's this big dude there named Donald Vega, Dr. Donald Vega, PhD, and he's from Costa Rica. And he looks like The Rock if you have to have an image of this guy, but he's super humble and nice. And actually gave me a copy of his book that I read on the way home. And it was amazing. He was talking about a lot of the same things that I'm seeing with my patients, the struggles of stress and not sleeping and just not taking care of ourselves. And, I laughed. I reached out to him. He'll be coming on the podcast. But I said, I plagiarized your book without even knowing it. We quoted the same studies. And so it was great reading it and looking and some of the same stories. And so it was amazing. And the two crazy ketos were there. They were hosting Joe and Rachel Stauffer. And they did such a great job. I would highly recommend it to any listeners if you ever want to go. I don't know if I'll get invited back, but I hope so. They just did a great job. Everything was organized and it went so smooth. My wife and I couldn't believe it. We were just amazed by how great it is. So if you ever want to get away and relax a little bit and hang out with like-minded people and some of the best scientists, some of the best talks I've ever heard were there. So I would highly recommend it. Maria Emmerich was there. Tony Hampton, who you know from this podcast. He's a great doc in Chicago. Him and his wife were there. So just getting to meet people, and I'll tell you, one of the highlights was Nurse Cindy. She gave a great talk on, really about how do we apply everything that we're learning, and how do we overcome these obstacles and stress and life struggles that get in the way. And so that was a really great talk, so I'm going to beg her to come on because she's amazing. She's doing some great work with wound care. And of course, Dom DeAgostino is one of the greatest minds in medicine. uh, Super humble, great person. So it's nice just to meet people kind of behind the scenes, obviously hanging out with Tro. People don't realize this, but Tro and I have only met like 3 times in our life. Most of the time, obviously, like this on Zoom. But just really spending time and picking someone's brain. And I'm telling you, I'm so blessed to have him as a partner on the podcast. He's doing some great work, and he's really impacted a lot of lives. He's doing great research out there. So I would recommend that you take a listen to him. Also, Jessica Reynolds, she opened the conference. She spoke before me, and it was amazing how our talks, like, none of us knew what the other people were talking about, prior to being there. And just to see how everything was in sync, talking about stress and sleep. And really, she does a great job of talking about strongholds that we have, where certain things we just can't get over that barrier, or we're worried about whatever other people think. And she did such a great job of explaining it in great terms. So I'm reaching out to her right now. She'll be joining me on the podcast. So I just want you to know, get a flavor of what's coming. I'm telling you, there's some great episodes coming up. Dr. Or Coach Bronson Dant had him on recently. He's a stud. Got to work out with him on the cruise, and just to see, just enjoy the scenery with people, and just kind of sit and talk about life and what matters. So many times we think of all these people that we hold up on a pedestal, like Ben Bickman. Just so great to see him with his family and enjoying life, and see what kind, decent people they are behind the scenes. So I can say every single person there was great. But the most important thing was the patients that we met and people that we met there, that their lives were changed coming off diabetes medicines and insulin, and overcoming depression and anxiety, and even seizure disorder. So I have someone coming on to talk about that too. And Dr. Aronica was there. She's amazing, talking about cholesterol, and some of the studies there, the recent studies coming out talking about risk factors. Um, so I would say that all of the speakers were great, and the organizers were great. So I'm hoping to share some of the knowledge. There's some great points that they're making, some great things that we're talking about here, like life and stress and what matters, and what's important. So it is just so reassuring to see how these people are in real life. Some of these people I hadn't met before, so it was nice to kind of get to know them behind the scenes and see what makes them tick, and what their motivations were. And some of the stories are just so amazing. I'm so fortunate to be in this line of work and having this focus. And so we saw beautiful things getting out in the visiting different countries. And but the most important thing was the people. Everyone we had dinner with was great, and so kind and decent, and really motivated to help other people. And I think it's in medicine, we've, over the last couple of years, we've seen so much corruption and misrepresentation, and to have real people out there that really do care and really want to make life better. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the upcoming practice in Arizona. I just want to let people know, if you're in Arizona, I need some patients out that way. We're really focusing on metabolic health. And the crazy thing was, I would say a third of the people on the cruise were from Arizona, which was kind of surprising because it's worldwide. There were people from all over the world, from Australia and New Zealand. We got to meet people that listen to our podcast. They're halfway around the world. It's so humbling to realize how much of an impact that we can have, just two knucklehead doctors talking about what we're seeing. So I just wanted to give you a little primer of what's coming. Dr. Vega, I'm really excited to have him on, and some of these great speakers that we got to know each other, and I get to drag them on. Hopefully, we'll get Ben Bickman back on again to educate us more about fat metabolism. He's doing amazing work, and he's so confident when he speaks, and he's such a humble guy. So I'm so happy to be associated with him here. And and also just the impact that health code has had, and uh, on patients trying to get their sugars under control, and get better nutrition. It's such a struggle, and the other thing that was amazing is just talking to some patients who have struggled with dementia and Parkinson's. By making lifestyle changes, they have improved. And the other thing that was very impressive hanging out with the muscle guys is there's so much data on exercise. So I would really encourage you, if you're not exercising, just take those first steps, and that was another thing I really loved about this conference. It was really about, how do I implement that in my life? How do I make these changes when I'm stressed and tense and not sleeping and not exercising? How do I do it without judgment and just being able to take small steps at a time? So if you don't exercise at all, a couple minutes here and there. If you're exercising now a little bit and you want to step it up, there's a lot of data coming out on high intensity interval training for people who you don't have bad joints and things like that, but also the Ben Bakikio type workouts where you're doing weight bearing exercise. I think one of the biggest things we talked about was the importance of muscle mass as we get older, and a lot of us don't really think about that. But the studies are pretty clear that that's the most important marker for longevity. So people with more muscle mass, whether we rule out smoking and drinking and all the other crazy stuff that we do, people with muscle mass live longer, less likely to get fractures, osteoporosis, dementia, Parkinson's. The muscle is not just for the muscle heads. It really does have a huge role in our endocrine system and our mood systems. And so, yeah, it's really important. So, and also really just taking those moments to relax and breathe. Several of these people talked about the importance of deep breathing. There were studies on sauna that we've talked about here, cold plunges, which I'm doing reluctantly right now, but I think it does make a difference so far. Red light therapy, things along those lines, like grounding, just going outside and sitting on the grass and relaxing. But I think one of the biggest things we can do is really just take a breath. Don't take ourselves so seriously. Reassess life, see what really matters. Some people walked away from multi-million-dollar jobs because it was just killing them. So some of us have to make that decision. But we all also agreed on the importance of community and spending time with each other, being kind, being grateful for what you have, not being cynical and bitter and angry and agitated and all these things. That really physiologically, we have tons of data on this stuff. So it was fun that, the stuff that I've been really noticing with my patients, to really sit down with other practitioners and experts in the area and hear what they're doing and what's working and what's not working. But we're all seeing the same things that Ben Bickman said to me, So if there's a little take home message, some of you have heard it before, a lot of you probably have. But he said, Brian, there's 5 things that matter, really. Like, if you want to live a long life, here's 5 things. And this is something you could tell your friends and family, because this is a given. And these are things I looked at, and I don't see exceptions to these things. Because I said, Ben, if I want to live a long life, what do I have to do? And he goes, okay, Brian, keep your insulin as low as possible. So here's what you do. Don't work 18-hour days and be stressed out, right? Don't neglect sleep. Those are the 2 most critical. I think, wow, sleep and stress. But these aren't things we talk about. We keep hearing, just do keto and you'll be fine. I'll give another shout. Vinny Tortrich has a movie coming out called Dirty Keto, and he's talking about all the marketing and all the stuff we get fooled by. So anyways, getting back to these 2 things. So those 2. Next, exercise regularly, right? Next, don't smoke or drink to excess. Next, cut out processed food and eat real food, right? Don't be looking at labels, because the labels will fool you every time. We have 40 names for sugar that people do, maltodextran or whatever. So really kind of trust your judgment. But the most important thing is, like, just starting, just show up at the gym. If you don't want to go, just get there, start exercising, doing a little bit here and there, and say, do I really need that extra piece of bread? Do I really need these cookies? And really finding other ways to cope with life. So I'm excited that, just as a primer of the guests that are coming up, really excited to be able to share their knowledge with you, and for you to get to know them as people. And so, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Thanks for listening, and find what's life's best medicine for you. It may not be the same for all of us, but and you can go back. Some of the names I mentioned, some of them I've already interviewed here. So looking forward to you hearing all these things. And if you can book the low carb cruise, I don't have any financial interest in these guys, but 2025 they're going to Alaska, which is supposed to be amazing. So hopefully I get invited back. If not, I'll come here and commiserate with you, and we'll figure out something else to do for that week. So, anyways, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Thanks for listening, and blessings. Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information. And hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.